Day 3. A wise man once said, "Never over-engineer your code." I'm sure some wise man said that, I'm just not sure who, because I just kind of made that up. Alright, so on the whole restructure of this game engine, it is truly a mess right now. I tend to do this every new version. We're on version 006 right now is what we're working on, and oh my is it. Yeah, you know what's going on if you've been watching the episodes. But I've been still working on the windowing, setting up some base stuff, and the base functions, and they're coming along. I still definitely have some work to do. I've got the callback system worked out. For the most part, I still have a lot to add, of course, but I decided to separate out receivers so that they could be shared among the interface portions that need to do stuff to update other stuff. Yeah, it's kind of a convoluted thing, but I feel like doing it like this, they can each at least have individual access and not have to pull down a whole struct, because one thing I want to avoid is having to do this on every callback, because that is going to get weird and bad for the caching, I believe. So to just have a small pointer, a shared pointer, to be able to pass around a little bit is going to be maybe a better option than pulling down these whole options and all this stuff. So that's maybe the intention here, and we'll see about getting rid of this. I might just make this window height and width somewhere else, but they do need to be tied to each window since we're going to support multiple windows. And now I'm getting really close to the first test of running this. So basically we want to be able to instantiate instances of the engine, which are an instance of the run, and each one comes with a window, a whole set of functions, a run, and we're going to have some private methods for update and render and stuff like that. So we're getting close to being able to do that, and I've got some front end functions. I'm keeping it really simple to start. Like we have the ability to initialize a new instance, and that's public. Anything here? Yeah, and initialize a new instance, and the ability to run, which is just going to run the first instance, is what I'm thinking here. And then if you have multiple up, you can just go click on the other windows to switch to those instances. So it'll just kind of by default start on the first instance. And yeah, what I'm thinking here is always do that. And then just if there are more, they'll show up and you can go click on them or switch to them via your windowing system, little alt tab action or whatever. So that's what I'm kind of thinking here. It's not working. Yeah, so basically some weird logic there. Yeah, all a big work in progress. And most of this model code here is commented out for the most part, because we just want to get some core cases going and then we'll go from there. So yeah, I think that's all I've got at the moment. That's still, a lot of this is still temporary. I don't know if I'm going to do this. I wanted to do instances out of the list rather than the vector, because the way it grows is going to be better, and there's not going to be many instances. Like, I can't imagine a scenario where anyone would have more than 3 up, or I guess if... Okay, let's do a little theory here. What if people want to design, say, some kind of massive calculation interface, and they want to put it on 6 monitors? The point of this is you can do that. You could render your graphs or whatever somewhere. You could render something else somewhere else. So I kind of want to give it that kind of support where you could just launch so many instances, do something really elaborate. Maybe you're like, I don't know, say some kind of trader or something, and you want to monitor a lot of things, and you want to build your own software that does it all in one, but you need multiple windows, and you want to be able to organize those as you want, so you could design each one, launch them all, that sort of thing. I know that sounds like crazy complicated, but believe me, it'll make sense later, if this all works as I'm thinking anyway. All right. Well, restructuring code that used to work to do something completely new is crazy, and it's fun. I love doing it. It really gets my brain tingling. But keep in mind here that this isn't exactly that risky. I could always just go back to an old branch where everything works. So that's the power of version control, is you always have those old versions. So I never feel bad for starting a new branch and just completely wrecking everything. Not wrecking, like tearing it down so you can build it back up, sort of thing, and make it not even necessarily make sense to another branch. But that's a whole nother topic. All right, well, after doing some research and testing, I've got it to a state where it will initialize. And here's what I'm thinking here. Now, this is going to be super nerdy, so you're warned. Be warned. Plenty warned. All right, here we go. The code, the code, the code. All right, so we want a list of instances like I was talking about before. However, we need to be able to pass it win options, or which is the window options. That way, the user can have their own specifications every time they initialize a new window. And this is also something that can be modified on the fly through, like, in-game options, so to speak. And some of them might require a restart, but we'll have to analyze that later. I don't want to get sidetracked. All right, so they can initialize with options. That's the point. And it's going to emplace back a new instance, which is going to call the constructor of instance every time we add one. Now, I took out all this stuff because we're not using it yet. We're going to add it in as needed for the functional loops. For now, all we want to do is just get a window popping up and see if we can get that all sorted out. Very nice, right? Okay, so we can initialize it with nothing, and that's fine. Okay, didn't mean to push that button. That's super fine. If we initialize it with nothing, it just sets up a new window with a null pointer. Go to window. And basically all that's going to do is pass in this default constructor, which will make our default options. And since this is null, we'll skip over the whole copy block because we want to make a deep copy of user preferred options if they want. That way they're now stored in our window. Now, what this does mean that's sort of awkward is whatever the user created, they created some Windows options to initialize with. If they did that, then their copy should be deleted afterwards or let it go out of scope or whatever, and that's fine. And now this is not thread safe because of that too, I believe. All right, but if we do make a deep copy, now it just saves everything into our Windows options. Very good. So it's essentially like a Windows options constructor. We could push all this code off into the Windows options, but we'll not worry about that right now because I want this to kind of have some control over that. Then we go to the default init, which is fine. It inits with these options. Okay, so we got that sorted out. But so you can, well, yeah, so from the front end interface, now that was the back end. Now we're going to the front end. This is the front end. Yes, I'll comment it out. So you can initialize a new instance and you can run. That's what we're starting with here on this restructure, because we want to, yeah, we're just scaffolding right now, basically, right? All right, init new instance. You can pass it Windows options to do so, and then it'll set up that whole window with the rendering system, all that, and then you can run it. Now, the next thing we want to do is be able to manage these instances. So we're going to start with running one, and that's all it's going to do. Just make sure there's one and runs the first one. That's all it's going to do, basically. And run, in this case, on this instance, that's going to start all our processing, looping, all that. And should the user make more instances, what should run do? Well, we want to make sure it initializes properly, first of all. Make sure it pops up a new window properly. Oh, wrong button again. And get all its options on its own side. And that way, we'll make a, let's see, where are our callbacks? We're going to make a click callback at some point. Not that one, not that one. Say on this one, on window focus callback. So whatever window you click, we need to switch to that instance. So this is going to get a little tricky, but we'll get it figured out pretty darn soon. Thanks for watching.